Uh-huh. Okay.
Well, we were building a bonfire, and I saw some, dry brush and leaves around, so, I said to move the bonfire somewhere else, and out of nowhere, Smokey Bear shows up and hugs me.
So you noticed some wildfire hazards and moved your bonfire to a safer location.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's Smokey, all right. He likes it when people help prevent wildfires. It's him close to home. Not everybody gets the hug, my friend. So that's pretty special to get a hug from Smokey Bear.
So it was him. Guys, I told you it was Smokey.
Okay, well, congratulations, my friend. And thanks for calling. There are many ways to prevent a wildfire. Learn how you can do your part at SmokeyBear.com.
Only you can prevent wildfires.
Sponsored by the U.S. Forest Service, Ad Council, and your state forester.
You're listening to the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
Little roller up along first. Behind the see you in Pittsburgh. Can't wait. Looking, throwing in the end zone.
You're tuned into Game On with Josh Silverberg. Talking all things sports. It's
Game on! Yeah, game on!
Game On, right here on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, we are live. Thank you so much for tuning in to the Worldwide Sports Radio Network. This is Game On, joining you every single Thursday from 6 to 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Of course, you can check us out on worldwidesportsradio.com, YouTube, Instagram, Periscope, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Job on the Mouth have a TikTok, and so much more. No Eric tonight. He got called in for an assignment late, so he is out for tonight. It is going to be me and where is my co-pilot? Where is he at? There he is. Is my camera lagging, by the way, or is it good?
A little bit. It's a tad blurry, but I know you're dealing with some storms over there.
Big thunderstorm here, so everything should be good. I'm remote this evening. It's been a very long time, Speedy. Of course, Speedy PD on the board as well. How you doing, man? Everything good?
Yes, this was the pre-show conversation about the last time Josh was doing remote. He was considering using the off the bat background.
We had our meeting before. Speedy and I, we usually have our meeting about 20 minutes before the show, and we were like, look at him. And for some reason, it set my camera to basically mirror it. And by the way, we're not gonna do phone calls tonight because when we do phone calls when I'm remote, it's hard to hear my response. Speedy knows that, so there'll be no calls tonight, but that's okay. We'll take calls next week when everything is back, all fine and dandy and everything like that. A lot to get to. We're going to get to all the discussion around the Rafael Devers trade, what the Red Sox were thinking with that idea. I'm not sure. We'll talk about that. Of course, you can also put your comments on the YouTube channel as well. So we'll get to the Rafael Devers trade. The Yankees won a game today. We'll get into the New York baseball team struggling and why baseball is a long season. This is going to happen. So we will get into that. We'll get into a little bit about the obviously the Stanley Cup, why the Florida Panthers this year, even more than last year, dominated the Edmonton Oilers, and what is the future for Connor McDavid and why it didn't sound very assuring if you're an Edmonton Oilers fan, and an idea I possibly might throw out that people may not like. We'll discuss all that. It's crazy. The New York Knicks still don't have a coach. That's when we last talked.
Your application?
You know what's funny is I should. My brother sent a fascinating article, and I'll send you the article too, Speedy. It actually was a really, really, really good article about. I'm actually going to send it to you now. Obviously, you're not going to. I mean, you can read it now if you want while we're talking and multitask. But my brother sent me. It was a great article by the Strict.land. So I'll send it to you now. It's a very fascinating idea and theory as to why Tibbs was let go and why the thought was even done before the playoffs even started. So we'll discuss all that, and it touches on Speedy's favorite topic, which is analytics. Speedy loves analytics and so much more. But we get into the whole discussion. What'd you say?
No, I'm reading the title. The Knicks broke up with Thibodeau before he broke their heart.
Oh, it's true. And you know what's funny is I actually read the article more. It's a long article. It's very long. But it really does go into full detail as to what the issue was with Tibbs and how Leon Rose and they started to really kind of just go their separate ways in the sense of the way the team should have been ran and so on and so forth. It is pouring out now. My goodness me. Well, having said all that, we are going to get into the NBA Finals tonight. Game 6, Indiana Pacers, Oklahoma City Thunder. I had the Thunder winning the series, I believe, in 5 games. It's gone to 6. Kudos to the Indiana Pacers for getting it to 6 games. But everything that has transpired in this series and everything that's happened in this series it's easy to understand in the sense of where we are with the Oklahoma City Thunder and the Pacers, and that's the Thunder have depth, right? Like they have a lot of depth, and the Indiana Pacers do as well. But you're also seeing a little cracks in the armor, as they say, with the Indiana Pacers, and it's a lot more the Thunder are causing it via the turnovers. And I think the series changed, and Speedy, you could tell me if I'm wrong. I think the series kind of changed when Game 4 happened, and the Pacers had the lead in the fourth quarter, and they kind of took a taste of their own medicine in the sense of, okay, no, why are you updating this stat? Why does these things happen now? Let's update everything now when I'm in the middle of something. No. The Pacers got a taste of their own medicine. What I mean by that is they had a nice lead. What was it? I think an 11-point lead in the fourth quarter. And
they were up by 12, I believe it was.
They were up by 12, and then SGA took over, and they outscored the Pacers 32-17 in that fourth quarter. And that's kind of where I look at it as, wow, the Pacers would have had a shot to go up 3-1. You could afford to lose Game 5, right? You know, kind of do what they did against the Knicks in Game 5, where they sit everybody down later in the game and have all their eggs in the basket for Game 6 at home in Indiana. What happened was you lose that Game 4. It's a killer because now the Thunder had a very early lead in Game 5. You're thinking, all right, they're on cruise control. Okay, they're going to take over this game, and then Indiana does what they do. They cut it to 6, tight, and then the Halliburton injury happens with the calf. We still don't know what the grade of the calf injury is, and they're not disclosing it. Then they're not going to. They're going to talk about it after the series is over. They're going to discuss everything that happens. I wouldn't be shocked if he needs a procedure done. Now, he is going to play tonight, but this is also the problem with Halliburton. Even before the calf injury, he had 0 points going before that injury happened, right? He wasn't shooting the ball well. He had a couple of turnovers. And this is the problem where we constantly discuss, Speedy, where he is in the sense of superstar title, right? Like, when you think of a superstar, you don't think of one that's going to go have 0 points in an NBA Finals game. And that's what happened. And in a very important game, I might add, a must-win game. And this is the problem with what in the sense of where – sorry again for the lagging of the camera. in the sense of where we are with how everything unfolded and everything transpired and everything like that, he had 0 points before the calf injury. Clearly, it's a very serious thing that is going to hinder what he's doing or what it is that he's going to try to do. I'm not saying that Indiana's completely out of the game tonight. I don't want to go that route because that's, again, you're counting your well, I forget the saying. What is it? You're counting your chickens before they hatch,
Yeah.
But to me, it just has that sense and that vibe that the opportunity for Indiana was winning that game. And if they won that game 4, again, you have the opportunity where if you're getting blown out in game 5, okay, you could sit everybody down. You get to game 6 in Indiana. Instead, you're forced to play everybody. And again, what you saw was you saw the defense for Indiana out there. You know what I mean? That's the issue and everything of that nature. But, to me, everybody's saying my camera's blurry. Is that true, Speedy? Is my camera blurry?
It looks fine now. It was a little
It
blurry.
looks fine now. Yeah. Why are people everybody needs to leave me alone. All right. This is okay, Speedy. I haven't done this in ages. Right? You know this and everything like that. I haven't done this in a very long time. So, I look fine now. Yeah, see, I'm good. I don't know what anybody's talking about. But I view this as, with the way the Pacers are, that game 4 was the killer for them. I feel like that kind of ruined their chances of winning the series. They get not blown out. They lost by 11. But if Halliburton's basically, if he's not 100% healthy, Halliburton, it's going to be a problem. And I just don't see a path where the Pacers can come back in this series. Even if they somehow did win tonight, they're not winning game 7 on the road in Oklahoma City. I just, to me, and if they do, Rick Carlisle, I think Rick Carlisle is already a Hall of Fame coach. If he does that stamps everything as first ballot for him. I am not getting that sense or vibe. If their team leader's hurt, you had Nembhard had so many just brutal turnovers in that game 4, in that game 5. They looked very sloppy. Siakam didn't look comfortable. Turner has been almost invisible this whole series, almost this whole playoff. They're getting by without him playing well. And the bench depth wasn't there. Now, I think in the game 4, what they should have done was, and again, I say this about coaches all the time. I said it about Tibbs in game 1 with the Knicks against Indiana. People, they go to their quote unquote their closer, right, to end the game. But the truth is, TJ McConnell was thriving in that game 1, and he took him out for Halliburton. But I'm saying to myself, okay, they're cruising right now without Halliburton. McConnell's playing great. They pulled McConnell. And Halliburton comes back in and everything is lost. SGA goes off. Everything is a mess. Everything's happening. So, Speedy, I don't know your thoughts. I know you have job of the mouth after. You'll discuss it with Fish. I know Earl's not in tonight. He's living a life in the Caribbean somewhere. But to me, I thought Carlisle did not coach that game 4 well. He did not have to take McConnell out to put Halliburton in. It was an unnecessary decision that really didn't have to be made. And again, I don't think I've seen more blown leads in the postseason than I have in this NBA playoffs. It's crazy how these coaches, they panic when things are going well. Okay, we have to put our best player back in. But why? Things are going so smoothly and so well. It's an unnecessary decision that you have to make and put yourself in. And I really thought the McConnell decision, it didn't have to be taken out. He didn't have to be taken out. You could have left Halliburton on the bench. I don't think Halliburton would have been upset about it. It would have been fine. I don't know. Your thoughts?
Yeah. I can. We'll preview Game 5 on Job on the Mouth, or Game 6 on Job on the Mouth. But I will talk about Game 4 because you mentioned Game 4. It's funny. Errol and I were actually at Miller's Ale House, and the Pacers were up by, I think, 10 at that point when we were leaving. And it's like, oh, are the Pacers really going to win it all? And then Obi Toppin misses 2 free throws, and all of a sudden, the course of the game really
He
just
still
changed.
has Nick Blood in him, Speedy.
Apparently, because he was playing well for like the second and third quarter, and then all of a sudden since then it just was a whole downhill effect. And the other Knicks not Knicks annoyance, but the guy that was annoying the Knicks in the Eastern Conference Finals, Benedict Mathurin, also a big choking in the fourth quarter, resembling that Tyrese Halliburton meme, I guess. But yeah, it was enough where the Pacers did not have that super bench dominance again, and it seems like most of the games that the Pacers lost is games that they're not as good as the other ones, but like a lot of them, they're not outscoring them. Like when they outscored the Knicks, they were outscoring by 20, like off the bench. Maybe that says more about the Knicks bench, but Game 3 when they won, I believe they outscored them by 20. So it's just that kind of thing where you're not going to be able to get that from the starters on starters against OKC, and OKC still has guys that can play defense off the bench. There's no liability defensively on that. OKC.
No,
line.
and I think the other issue is too, and you're seeing it, is Neesmith. Clearly, he's hurt. He's done nothing, next to nothing in this series. He didn't really do much either at the end of the Knicks series either. Once the injury happened, it was he was almost a non-factor. But it's kind of crazy because I'm watching this OKC team, and I'm like, Hartenstein hasn't done anything either. Remember that teardrop one-handed shot he used to perfect? He hasn't been able to hit it. But, I mean, Jalen Williams has been showing why he can be the second guy. And I believe it was Scottie Pippen. You went on a podcast recently, and Scottie Pippen said there's no reason why Williams cannot be who I was to what SGA is to Jordan. There's no reason why that those two can't consistently work together. And the truth of the matter is this. OKC has $1 billion draft picks going forward. They have a ton of cap space going forward. They have one of the youngest teams in the league. They're only going to get better. That's the truth of the whole thing. This is almost like, is this the start of the dominance that is of what the Thunder are going to be? And it's funny. I was watching the game with my dad the other night, and Speedy, I'm sure, I don't know if you read this, but it was so funny. A lot of superstars are now coming out and saying that they want, Shams reported it's in that a lot of superstars now want to play in Indiana. And I'm thinking in my head, oh, that's nice. If I'm Indiana, you know what I would do? I would look at how the Phoenix Suns did everything, where
you mean Brooklyn
Nets? What'd you say?
You mean Brooklyn Nets West?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, they had the coach in place in Williams. They had the right team around them with Bridges, and Paul was a good veteran on that team. They went to the finals. They took it to 6 games. They did that. That was a team that was growing. They were one of the younger teams in the league, with Chris Paul as the good vet on that team. And the Suns decided to blow it up and go after Kevin Durant. And then they decided, hey, instead of just blowing it up, hey, let's throw a tsunami in there, and let's go get Bradley Beal too, and do that. And I think if you're a team like OKC and you're like Indiana, when you hear superstars want to come to your team, I would say, oh, that's nice. If they want to come here, they could sign here. We're not trading our assets for them. We have something really good here that we're building. Because don't get me wrong, this is not the end for Indiana. It's not the end for them. They're going to get better too. But when you view a team, even to an extent, if you want to state Milwaukee, right? Milwaukee tried to salvage, and Damian Lillard is one of my favorite players ever. You know that. I love Dame. But the problem was when Milwaukee got Dame was almost past his prime at that point, and they were grasping at straws to the point of, This is they were so desperate to make it work, and they traded Drew Holiday, and it just messed everything up. And now Milwaukee's just a middle of the pack team. It was so funny because you know how the Knicks are looking for coaches and they're like trying to. It was one of the memes was the Milwaukee Bucks gave the New York Knicks permission to speak to Doc Rivers, but the Knicks turned it down. It's I think if you're a team like OKC and you're a team like Indiana and you want a superstar to come here, like if you want a Giannis to come here, I don't think you could do it. I think you need to look at the Phoenix Suns, look at their playbook, and you need to say, they went to the NBA Finals. They were 2 wins away from going there. They decided to blow it up to go get Kevin Durant, and it blew up in their face. And we can't do something like that because let's call it like it is. Now the Phoenix Suns are going to be on the precipice of rebuilding. This is where they're at now, and it's crazy. And Devin Booker, from everything that I've heard, they're not going to trade Booker, which is to the chagrin of Errol. They're not going anywhere anytime soon for a team that was once close to winning an NBA Finals. And
they also just traded the Desmond Bane pick that was in the deal with Orlando and Memphis. I think it's now being gone too. Like, why would Phoenix even want to tank?
And that was another thing I wanted to bring up was that Orlando trade too. That was a fascinating deal with Memphis. Memphis killed that deal, by the way. My God, they fleeced Orlando. I don't even know what I understand Orlando's trying with because they probably know Banchero and Wagner are not going to be there long term. They're going to leave for a big market. But I don't know. I mean, my thought process is going back to the finals tonight. I wouldn't be shocked if Indiana won. I think it's going to be extremely challenging. I'm picking OKC to end it tonight. And if they don't end it tonight, they're going to win Game 7. Halliburton's not 100%. Nesmith's not 100%. You saw Nembhard was probably had his worst quarter of the playoffs with. Not only did he have the 4 turnovers, all of them led the points on those turnovers. They were absolutely brutal. And to me, it was just an unmitigated disaster for Indiana to lose that Game 4. That was where the whole thing stems from. So I think OKC ends it tonight. But I want to touch base now on that Memphis trade. I'm glad you brought that up, Speedy. I know you guys discussed it on the show Tuesday or Monday when you had.
Ironically, the show before that too. I even we didn't get to talking about it, but I was even chatting in the private chat with our guys. And I even brought up because we were talking about the Knicks coaching search, and obviously Taylor Jenkins is being mentioned in it. Like, if he was their coach, like, would you trade Towns for Bane and Jaren Jackson? I even brought up, like, why not?
I mean, if the Knicks did that, that would be a kind of a nice move there. But the report, apparently, the Knicks are trying to get Jaren Jackson, from what I read, but they want to pair him on the front court with Towns. That's what they want to do. I would imagine Robinson would have to be in that deal. Not that Memphis is going anywhere. But the Bane deal is fascinating because you look at what they traded, and we look now, Speedy, at the Mikal Bridges trade, right, with the 5 first-round picks. Now Bridges is a better player, right, than Bane. Yeah. And you look at what Memphis gave. You look at what Orlando gave up to Memphis for Bane, and I look at it in the sense of, maybe the 5 first-round picks weren't so bad. Maybe that's just what the going rate is for a really good role player. Unfortunately, because the truth of the matter is, like, even this year's draft, after the 2nd or 3rd pick, the draft pretty much falls off. It's not a great draft. Next year's draft is the big draft. In 2026 is what everybody's been reporting.
I hear the Baylor kid that was supposed to be really good too is going to slip, apparently.
Apparently he's not doing great with his interviews. And apparently Ace Bailey, who was he was supposed to be the number 3 pick behind Flagg and Harper. He refused to interview with Memphis, and he actually canceled his interview with Philly. He does not
want to play with Joel Embiid.
He doesn't want to go there. So when I view everything after the third pick is up in flux right now. But what were your thoughts on the Bain trade? Because when I heard the trade, I was driving, and I said to myself, I almost was like, my eyes were on. I was like, what? And I was like, and that Phoenix Suns draft pick is in that deal for next year too.
Right.
That's the crazy thing. I'm like, they gave that up, Orlando.
Which they could have gotten maybe somebody that could have been that good. I kind of compared it to like, it seemed like they were desperate, like the Timberwolves with Gobert when they traded for Gobert at the time because their defense was horrible. And Orlando last year, their defense was great. Their offense was bad. So it felt like a desperate move. I like the fit with Bain because they need somebody like a 3-and-D guy, but that was definitely a lot.
I thought it was way too much. And again, that Phoenix pick is going to be a lottery pick next year. I think Fish brought that up on the show the other day. That Phoenix pick is going to be a possible top 5, top 10 pick. I don't think Desmond Bain is worth a top 5 pick. Like, I mean, the Knicks draft picks are their own picks, right? Except for, I think, Milwaukee's pick, which is still going to be a lower pick. The Phoenix pick is going to be a top 5 possible pick next year. I'm trying to grasp at what Orlando's thought process was when you say, and I actually like Orlando's coach too. I like what they're trying to build in Orlando because they know Banchero. Here's the thing. I think what Orlando's learned from the past is, okay, Shaq left us, Dwight Howard left us. We want to try to build something sustainable because we know they're not going to stay. How can we do or build something to get these guys like Banchero to want to stay? And right, you and I can both agree Banchero's not going to be there long term.
Yeah, they're going to probably sign him now if that's the case. Otherwise, you're right. It might get.
I mean, you could offer him the super max, but my question is with Banchero is he going to want to stay in Orlando? Does he feel in that conference when you have a Boston, when you have a New York, when you have a Cleveland, when you have even now in Indiana, are they better than those teams? The truth is they actually have a pretty good fan base too in Orlando from everything that I've heard. They have a good fan base. And if they win a championship, it's very easy where you can have the parade. You can have the parade at Disney World. It's a very easy solution. You know what I mean? Have it down Main Street and go nuts. And everything of that nature, or you could have it at the new Epic Universe Park for Universal. You could do it there.
I was going to say, don't sway Caleb into becoming an Orlando Magic fan. He'll go there all the time.
Oh no, Caleb's very deep. Caleb, he cried after the Knicks lost Game 1 to Indiana. He was very upset about it, and I was like, "Kid, listen, it's only the beginning. This is all it is." But my reaction to the whole Bain trade was, I'm trying to grasp at what Orlando was trying to do, and I understand it. I didn't like the addition of the Phoenix pick. That to me was an interesting choice, because the 2026 draft is supposed to be better than this year's draft. So that's why my thought was that's a lottery pick you just traded. You better hope Desmond Bain gives you what he's worth. Again, Bridges, yes, 5 first-round picks, but those are lower. Those are not lottery picks you traded.
And the Knicks are in a better position last year than Orlando is this year.
100%. And that's why, to me, I mean, Memphis, I'm trying to figure out what Memphis is going to do. Like, do you trade John Morant? Do you trade Jaren Jackson? Do you just blow it up?
I think John Morant's value is shot right now on the trade market. I think you just see what you get, and if it still doesn't work, then you could try to move him next offseason. You build.
I mean, they made they made the playoffs this year. They got shellacked by OKC, which is, again, I mean, what are you going to do? And by the way, last thing, shout out to the New York Knicks for getting coaches extensions like Billy Donovan and Ime Udoka, because if not for that, those guys don't get extensions. Like, Billy Donovan does not deserve an extension in Chicago, and he's getting one.
Yep.
And I actually think Billy Donovan's a good coach, but he's getting one.
I'm not saying it's a problem. Yeah, you're right.
I mean, my thought was when I saw Billy Donovan's getting an extension, I'm like, oh, you can thank the Knicks for that. And then Ime Udoka got an extension today. Oh, you can thank the Knicks for that too, and everything like that.
Wait for Nico Harrison to sign Jason Kidd to the biggest contract ever.
Let me tell you something. First off, if the Knicks, by the way, Mike Brown's not going to be the coach they hire. I wouldn't be shocked if it is Taylor Jenkins is the guy they hire. Because Jenkins was a good coach in Memphis. It just, you can't control your superstar when he's constantly pretending to shoot bazookas at people when he's had gun issues in the past. So, I mean, you can't really control what the guy does. Let's swing over to hockey right now. Really quick, before we get to the finals, everybody's been asking me my opinion. Josh, your favorite Ranger of all time got traded. What are your thoughts? Speedy knows this too. Chris Kreider is my favorite. What are your thoughts of the trade? Are you sad to see him go? Are you disappointed? Of course you're sad to see Kreider go. But I think after last year's stench, and by the way, kudos, I'm just letting you know, if you ever need to get rid of a bad contract, just call the Anaheim Ducks. They'll take it.
They're becoming the new Coyotes.
Yeah, well, they figured because Quenneville's there now that he's just going to have a magic wand and fix everything. But my viewpoint is it is the end of an era, by the way. It's the end of an era. Every single person from that 2014 team now is officially gone from that team. Oh, no. Sorry, JT Miller is still there. Never mind.
Yeah, he's back.
But everybody's essentially gone from that team and from that core, right? The Zuccarello, Kreider, Mika, McDonough, Girardi, Lundqvist, that core. I mean, it's gone. Once Kreider got traded, it's gone. It's done. It's over. And it was 2 years remaining with $6.5 million on that contract. It was a contract they had to so desperately get rid of. I think he personally quit on the season last year as well, Kreider. I know he had injuries, but Speedy, you can tell me if I'm wrong. I know the Rangers are your favorite of all your teams, but I think Kreider did quit on the season last year. It was very disappointing to see.
I don't think he was the only one, but yeah, I would say
no. It was disappointing to see. I mean, if they could get rid of Zibanejad's contract, which he just had an article. He just bought a house that they just made in the suburbs in Westchester. They just had a baby there. It sounds like they're not going to go anywhere, which would be wonderful if he could waive the no trade clause and you could dump that. But this is a segue to, and before I get to the segue, the Florida Panthers completely dominated the Stanley Cup over the Edmonton Oilers. I picked the Panthers to win it in, I believe, 6. I said the Hyman injury is going to kill Edmonton in this series. They have no real goaltending. Knobloch was going back and forth with the goalies. I'm amazed Edmonton even won 2 of the games. I remember Edmonton won game 1, and people were saying, oh, maybe this is it for Edmonton. They're going to do it. I said, stop. I said, Florida's going to figure it out. They're too talented. They're too good. And I know it's very hard to win a Stanley Cup in a cap era, number one. But from everything that I've read that Sam Bennett and Brad Marchand are willing to take team-friendly deals to come back to Florida. And that's essentially look what they did, right? They traded Oliver Ekman-Larsson left as a free agent to go to Toronto. What do? They signed Nate Schmidt, like literally almost a vet minimum, and he's phenomenal for them. What do? They go on a trade for Seth Jones, who was on the precipice of being irrelevant, and a guy that was really good in Nashville and was in Chicago. They tried to make him a centerpiece in Chicago of that core, and he was horrible. They bring him to Florida at the next to nothing trade payment. They get him, and he looks like the Seth Jones that he did in Nashville again. everything like that, like I said, you're still going to have Kachuk. You're still going to have Barkov. You're still going to have Varhage. You've got Reinhart long-term. Nico Mikkola looks like Victor Hedman out there. It really Ekblad. If they could get rid of the Ekblad contract, that would be good for Bill Zito. Bill Zito's the best executive in the NHL right now. It's not close. I said when the trade happened, if the Panthers win the Stanley Cup, I think you could mark this Marchand trade as arguably one of the greatest trade deadline acquisitions in the history of the NHL. Was getting Marchand. Because I said this, I know Bennett won the Conn Smythe. I thought Marchand should have won the Conn Smythe for the role that he did. Because Marchand wasn't even on the top line. Remember that. He was on the second line with Bennett and Verhaeghe, I believe. He was on the second line with them.
I think Verhaeghe was he was downgraded from the first line in the Eastern Conference Finals. Yeah.
Yeah, and by the way, Kachuk did next to nothing in this Stanley Cup either. He's been hurt. He didn't really do much. It was the depth and role players. Sam Reinhart said, "I'm going to score 4 goals tonight to clinch this bad boy and call it a day." And I know Buffalo Sabres fans are crying right now because they got really nothing in that trade for Reinhart. But Bill Zito shows why he's a great executive. Paul Maurice is going to the Hall of Fame easily. He had so many close chances in Winnipeg. He's the best coach in the NHL right now. He's been to 3 straight Stanley Cups, won 2 of them. I wouldn't be shocked if they won more. And if they could get, like I said, if Bennett and Marchand come back for the discounts that they're willing to give Florida, like if you're a guy like a Bennett or a Marchand, first off, why would you want to leave the Panthers in the first place? First off, they're a Stanley Cup contender. They're one of the best, most well-run organizations in the league right now. And they're a tax-free state in Florida. Warm weather year-round. Beaches in Fort Lauderdale. You know, why would you want to leave the Florida Panthers to go somewhere else? I mean, I know Ekman Larson did. That's also because the Toronto Maple Leafs completely overpaid for him. But, like, why would you even want to go anywhere at this moment, especially if you're a guy like Marchand? Why would you want to go anywhere else? You win your second cup. Bobrovsky is going to be a first ballot Hall of Famer now, easily. To me, I think, like, do we put Bobrovsky at – obviously, I think Bobrovsky now, Speedy, has to be top 10 goalie conversation. But because he's now been to 3 straight Stanley Cups, all the Vezina trophies that he's won, he was a key component in making the Columbus Blue Jackets relevant, especially in that upset years ago against Tampa. Do we start to maybe put Bobrovsky in that top 5 goalie conversation, or are we not there yet? Because the numbers don't speak in the regular season, but clutchness, performance, thrived in Columbus, basically an organization that was, almost irrelevant. And he goes to Florida, and he's been to 3 straight Stanley Cups. He's won 2 of them. Like, do we put him in that top 5 conversation almost at this point?
Top 5 is probably more of a hot take, I think, at this point, just with the all-time great with the goalies. But top 10, yeah, you definitely got to put him in there.
I think top 10, he definitely has to be in that conversation. I mean, like I said, with the work that he did, I'm trying to figure out, where was he before Columbus? I can't remember.
I thought was it? Yeah,
it wasn't Philly, was it?
Oh, it was. I think it was Philly. I was trying to think. Like, I know it was a poverty goalie franchise.
Well,
you're right. I think it was Philly. I'm pretty sure. I was trying to think.
I remember when Florida signed Bobrovsky. Remember, they thought they were getting the tandem. They thought they were going to get him and Panarin together because they talked about playing together.
Yeah, he was 3 years with the Flyers, 2010 to 2012. Wow.
Oh, good thing he left them. I mean, they look, But my point is, I think the conversation needs to be discussed about Bobrovsky top 10. And if Marchand and Bennett come back, I don't know who's beating Florida. Like, I don't know who can beat Florida. You have the coaching, you have the depth, You have the superstars on that team. You have the great goalie. You have the foundation on defense no matter who you bring in. Like I said, you replaced Larson with Nate Schmidt for almost a vet minimum, and you resurged Seth Jones' career. Like, is there any reason why Florida can't repeat again for next year and going forward? I know it's a very difficult thing, but Sam Bennett has already said, I'm willing to take a discount, and so is Marchand, to take a discount to come back. Clearly, they want to be back here. And they see the progress, and they see, like I said, tax-free state, warm weather year-round. They got the Winter Classic next year going to Miami against the Rangers. They're bringing hockey down south, and it's becoming a very that home ice advantage is becoming massive now for this team. So my thought process in theory is, okay, I don't know, how do we go about playing this going forward? I think if it's the Florida Panthers, you're right. And this leads me to my question now, Speedy, and it's a hot take. It's a hot take. So you want to hear this one out. They asked Connor McDavid at the end of the series. Now, last year, Zach Hyman, when they asked Zach Hyman, can you win with this core? Oh, absolutely. We got a bunch of dogs in here. We're going to be back next year. When they asked McDavid about it, he sounded very hesitant and unsure. They asked him the question, do you feel this core you can win? And he was like, yeah, sure. That's literally how he sounded. Yeah, sure. That doesn't sound very convincing to me. And if you're an Edmonton Oilers fan, now listen, they just signed what's his name to a new 4-year deal. I forget his name. Who did they just sign?
Trent, yeah.
Which, thank God, because the Rangers, we're going to be all over that, and I would have been furious with that. This is not really the time for Edmonton to be throwing money around now, because Connor McDavid is on the last year of his contract, Speedy, and losing this cup. Are we now having it in our heads, because they have Draisaitl locked up long term? That's one guy. But are we now under the assumption that it's not a sure thing that McDavid's back with Edmonton after this year? That's one. And two, if there's no assurance, and this is going to be crazy, and Oiler fans are going to want to jump off a bridge when you hear this, so I apologize. Please don't. Do you possibly, if you have no assurance he's coming back, do you trade him for a haul, knowing that you're not sure he's going to be back next year? Or do you play the wait game, hope you get back to the cup again? Because here's the reality. His contract's up, and if you don't win the cup next year, Edmonton's screwed. Like, their future is so screwed now because you're losing the best player in hockey. So that's why it's almost like if you're in the shoes of the front office of Edmonton, you're in a bind now because you're thinking to yourself, gosh, this should have been done years ago. Why didn't we do this? And they've waited so long. There's no way I don't think McDavid signs an extension now. He's going to want to hit the free agent market and see what he's getting and what he's worth. Like, what do you do if you're in the Oilers front office shoes right now? How do you play this? Do you trade him for guys that can contribute now and make the team still relevant? Or do you say, let's take our chances, hope we win a cup? But last year, we lost in 7 to the same team in the same building. This year, we lost in 6 to the same team in the same building. What do we do?
I know it's that great dilemma because we've seen the Penguins win with that kind of style. Crosby and Malkin were in their prime, just filling in the rest. And now the Oilers are trying to live that type of mentality, I guess, with more skating on defense. But the other thing they got to figure out is paying Bouchard too. Bouchard is going to probably get $10 million or so, and I don't know if the Oilers have the cap space for that right now. And if you lose him, then all of a sudden you're back to the Oilers of 2018 where they had no defense and Connor McDavid and Draisaitl did everything. So. And
they also have no goaltending, Speedy. I don't want to hear about. I don't want to hear about Skinner. I don't want to hear about it. I'm done with it. He was awful in this series. He was terrible. He couldn't do anything. The Oilers have not had goaltending at all since McDavid has been there. to me, I just, what would you do if you're in the Oilers' shoes? Like, do you
That's what-
trade him for a haul and get players that you think will be able to help you depth-wise now? Or do you take the chances, hope you win a cup? But if you don't win the cup, he's gone and he's leaving in free agency, and you're setting the franchise back 6 years, 5 years.
Yeah, that's what's tough because I think they've tried every combination with defense. I think they've tried every combination. They tried trying to pay Campbell and $5 million a year, and that fell off a cliff really quickly. So you have to take the chance of the goaltending philosophy of just build up your defense and hope to a random goalie hits. Do you try to make a trade for a goalie? It's tough because, again, we've seen it with good defensive teams like Vegas and the Blues that they had random goalies win cups. So maybe Edmonton was banking on that philosophy, but that's what's tough with the goaltending market. And then the players around McDavid and Draisaitl, or if they play together, then you're hindering another line. So cap wise, I think it's tough right now to do anything like a good trade wise. So they're going to have to hope that, like you said, they like what Florida's doing, can they rebirth a bunch of these other guys? Or if maybe you have Chris Knobloch there, do you try to go for maybe younger expiring contracts from other teams and try to build that way?
I have no idea what they can do. And people are going to say I'm nuts. There's a team out there that I think is doing something, and they're setting up for. They're going to try to retool for this year, but I think they're starting to set up for when McDavid is a free agent. Speedy, I think you know who the team is. I think they're trying to set up for it. If you've seen what they've done the last 2 years at trade-wise and contracts gone, and they have a certain superstar that's contract is up after this year. And I think there's one team that could get in the way of the Edmonton Oilers of bringing him back. And it's a team that plays on Broadway that they're trying to set this up. And just hear me out for a minute. Try to connect the dots here. Right? You trade Trouba. You trade Kreider. Okay, you got rid of all those contracts. Goodrow, right? All those contracts are gone. Panarin's contract is up after this year. That's a lot of money. Miller's probably going to get traded. They're going to try to find something for Zibanejad. But the New York Rangers, when you look after all the trades, they're going to have, I believe, what I saw, $31 million in cap space. $30 million cap space. Like, Chris Drury's going to offer Connor McDavid like $20 million and be like, here you go. You want to play in New York? And that's so Rangers if they do that, by the way. Remember, they tried it for forever with everything. Could you see the Rangers as being a threat for a Connor McDavid? Because when you're looking at the way it's being built, Speedy, it's almost aligning to when McDavid's free agency hits and getting rid of these contracts and all the salary cap.
Interesting. I guess maybe with the Chris Knobloch angle is maybe the one you would take with that because they know all the young players that they would have to trade in that deal. And obviously it'd have to be the farm pretty much for the best player in the world. So I guess that's the angle that they do have right now. I guess it just depends on how much he wants to play with the whatever core is going to be left with the Rangers, because you're right, they're going to have to trade others. They're going to probably trade other pieces if they can trade Zibanejad. That'll be the next step to doing that.
I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if Lafreniere gets traded. Wouldn't surprise me. I think Miller. I think Keandre Miller's as good as gone.
Yeah, apparently Buffalo loves them, so that's a good sign of. All right, you're not going to go anywhere with your.
Who was the forward that I wanted from Buffalo? Who was the forward? What was his name? He had a really good season for them. Oh God, at the deadline.
Paterka? Was it Paterka?
Yeah, hold on. Let me see. Sabres. Yeah, he was the forward, right? It was Paterka.
Yeah, because I've seen him in trade talks too.
Yes, that was the guy I wanted. It was Paterka at the deadline, and I heard Drury did try to trade for him. And apparently they wanted Lafreniere plus. And Drury was like, no, I'm wondering, does Drury now revisit that? The thought process there. and just try to make this team younger. I think Trocheck is going to be the named captain of this team next year. It's going to be an American. It's what Sullivan does. Except Crosby, because Crosby was one of the best players in hockey. You couldn't take that away from him by default and everything like that. But, we'll see. I'm curious. There's other teams that will be in it. My dad says the Boston Bruins will be in it. They have a lot of cap space. But I don't know. The Oilers are in a tough bind, man. This was the cup I think they had to have. And they looked worse. And again, Hyman being hurt was a killer, but they looked worse this year than last year by a mile. They looked horrible, But getting now to the topic that is Major League Baseball that's going around, and of course the big trade that happened, Speedy. There was a random trade that happened on Monday after they just swept the Yankees and put themselves back in the race. Rafael Devers going to the San Francisco Giants for next to nothing at this point. And I know they got the Giants' first-round pick last year. That's fine. But they did not get the value that Devers was worth, by the way. And now Devers is all, I'll play anywhere you want. I'll go anywhere you want. I think this is a fault to the Red Sox and to Devers. This is a fault for Devers because if you're Devers, you're getting paid a big contract. I think you need to do what's abided to you, right? Like, they're paying you the money. And I think this is more the Red Sox fault, and this is why I say this. If you're the Boston Red Sox, Devers was one of the best third basemen in baseball, probably the best behind Jose Ramirez, correct? And they go out and they sign Bregman, and they take Devers away from his position. All right, fine. They have a conversation about him playing DH. All right, I'll do it. I don't want to do it, but I'll do it. So they broke a promise right there, right? That was one. Then Tristan Cachet gets hurt. And then they say, all right, now we want you to play first base. And Devers like, wait a minute. I can't trust you anymore because you're doing X, Y, and Z to me. This is a problem. How am I supposed to trust anybody in this organization now going forward? I can't do it. So my thought process and thinking is, if I'm the Boston Red Sox, and I heard Breslow's responses, by the way, they were atrocious. That man needs a PR firm. They should have shut his mic down in the middle of that press conference. Speedy, what were your thoughts when you saw the trade for Devers and you said to yourself, man, this is just I can't believe I can't believe that this is what they did. This is what they got back for him.
Yeah. It seemed a bit impulsive because you knew there was tension in the beginning of the year, and it seemed like, I guess, in-house maybe it wasn't resolved, but you had enough time. Like, the trade deadline wasn't that day. The trade deadline wasn't even, like, that week. Like, you could have gotten a lot more by starting a bidding war. Rafael Devers allegedly wants out. Whether you want to make that, I probably wouldn't have made it public, obviously, but if you knew like there were executives that had a hint in mind that Devers was frustrated with playing first, like let the bidding war start up if that's the case. Like impulsively just trading him in that moment when you just swept the Yankees.
Did we lose Speedy? Well, I think we lost. Did we lose Speedy? I think Speedy froze. So I think, let me see. I'm looking on the stream to see if it's me that's lost or let me see. Nope. All right. Speedy has been lost. But yeah, not a good deal. We'll get to Speedy's thoughts a little bit more of the time, for sure. We're going to end it with You're Better Than That segment. And, of course, the You're Better Than That is this. It is in regards to you know, basically, the year better than that for me is going to be, I would say we just talked about it, and that's the Boston Red Sox and what they got back for Devers. That was horrible. It was not a good move by them. Didn't like it, didn't understand it. It made no sense to me. So Boston Red Sox, you definitely are better than that. But I digress. Don't forget to check us out on worldwidesportsradio.com, YouTube, Instagram, Spotify, Periscope, Apple Podcasts. Job in the Mouth are coming up next at 7:30. I want to appreciate Speedy for popping on tonight. I know we lost him here at the end. I also want to thank the fans out there for listening and watching us. Don't forget to check us out. You can check us out on worldwidesportsradio.com.
Yeah, we lost internet for a second.
Speedy panicked. But I'm just closing up the show before I close out. Speedy, any you're better than that segment starts.
All right, yeah, I'll do one quickly. The college baseball yesterday.
The Arkansas LSU game.
Yeah, I don't know if that's what you did or not, or for yours.
No, I didn't do it. I did about the Red Sox Devers.
Yeah, I was going to say the left fielder, what he was doing there with 2 outs. I mean, everyone's blaming the shortstop too for not throwing a third. I don't think that was as bad as what the left fielder did, but I guess just the fielding in general for Arkansas. The fundies, as Keith Hernandez always says.
Yeah, well, like I said, also heard there was a tornado that just hit New Jersey. Hopefully everybody's all right. My brother is one hit Newark. He's about 30 minutes from Newark. So, right? So. And everything like that. Yeah, it's crazy. I don't know with weather anymore. Again, Job in the Mouth are coming up next with Speedy, Aaron Fishman, of course, Tommy Scoops, and Jabba Chamberlain. And don't forget to check out 103.9 FM on Saturday at 7 o'clock with Errol and Speedy with the Weekend Crunch. Eric will be back next Thursday. We will have a show next week. And then the following week we will be off for 4th of July. The families, we're going on vacation. We're going to be away for the week and everything like that. So that'll be a lot of fun and everything of that nature. Speedy, have a great show with everybody. Thank you for doing this. Thank you for popping on. Appreciate it. I miss you in the studio, of course. This is a challenge for me to do this remotely, but listen, we make it work. Enjoy your weekend, everybody. Enjoy your sports. Check out the finals tonight, but don't forget to check out Jabba and the Mouth. That's coming up at 7:30 right here on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network. Take care, everybody. Have a great weekend. We'll talk to you next week.
It's the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.